Alrighty then. You want to do this intro with me?
I guess.
All right. So yeah, Wild, Sweet, and Cool.
Finally.
Oh no! I moved the screen. Hold on.
Oh
Press E to toss ball. So I've been busy playing.
no! Busy air quotes.
Dude, I don't know what's going on right now, but you know how I changed the screen resolution, right?
I guess.
Okay, yeah. So I changed the screen resolution so I can actually record this game on Fraps. The ball is moving so slow.
Slow motion.
I know, dude. It's like the ball never moves this slow, but I'm still messing up. So, all right. So, Wild, Sweet, and Cool, written by Kwakerjack. Kwakerjack. He's awesome. Have you been listening to this story at all?
No.
Dude, you're so mean.
I know.
You should read it. It's really, really good so far. But yes, I'm on chapter 4.
I'll wait till the full series is out. I'll do a marathon.
You'll do a marathon on the whole thing. Well, actually, I don't know how far he's going. Maybe he can answer that in the comment section. I think he's on chapter 8 right now, and he's about to come out with chapter 9.
Oh, it's not even done yet?
No, it's not. But
Oh.
what is wrong with you? Dude, it's such a good story. It's such a good story.
It's like reading Harry Potter if like you only had like part of the first chapter.
I'd be cool with that.
I wouldn't.
It
would just be
the
about a
boy
kid stuck
who
in the
lived.
cupboard.
The boy who lived. Story ended. The end.
It would be a kid stuck in a cupboard getting beaten and talks to snakes. That'd be it. It'd just be a weird kid.
That'd be weird, dude. That'd be normal kid.
No, it would.
Where I come from,
I'm sorry.
that's
I don't see
normal
kids
kid.
touching glass and be like, "Oh my god, you a snake."
All right. Well, this is Wild, Sweet, and Cool, Chapter 4. I'm sorry that it didn't come out until now, but
Somebody was playing Diablo.
I was playing Diablo, and then I decided to upload it today because Friday, Fanfiction Friday. Anyone? It has a better ring than Thursday. But then,
12 o'clock.
then Austin decided to introduce me to this game that I'm just sitting here playing.
Everyone was waiting.
Oh, dude, it is. So, I'm at 20,000 right now.
Ooh.
20,000, bro. Just, dude, I don't know why the ball's going so slow, but it's making my score so high.
What? Not about to say something smart.
Yeah, say something smart real quick before we go on to the story. No! I lost my ball. 25,000. No.
Oh, it's not like we haven't been doing anything at all. The other channel, the Wolf's walkthroughs, we did upload a Diablo video there.
All of a sudden,
throw it in the random plug now.
Time out real quick.
Sure you put the little square
All
there,
of a sudden,
like other video.
All of a sudden, dude, the ball sped up.
Dude,
like, it went back to
attention
normal.
the opening.
Okay, I'm sorry. The ball's changing speeds. Okay, so yeah, continue on with what you're saying. I'm sorry.
We did another video. Bubble here. Click on it.
Yes.
Plugs everywhere.
But don't go to it yet. Actually, it's gonna be in the description. It's gonna be in the description because you guys want to listen to Wild, Sweet, and Cool, and that's why we're here, because Kwakerjack is a fantastic.
This is chapter 4's preface.
This
It's
is
longer than the chapter.
Yeah, dude. Why? I don't know. I just thought this would be funny to introduce it this way. And I hope Kwakerjack's not mad that we thought it was interesting and it was gonna be funny, and we were so wrong.
We were terribly wrong. What have we done?
Oh my gosh. So, all right, it's going to cut to Wild, Sweet, and Cool, Chapter 4. I hope you guys enjoy it. After it's over, I'll give you guys a couple notes on what's actually going to happen with the rest of our channel and what's going to happen with the podcast.
Have fun.
So, yeah, enjoy Wild, Sweet, and Cool, Chapter 4.
No pony is certain what the spectrum barrier actually is, or why it exists. But scientists and mages alike have been all but unanimous in their agreement that there is absolutely no way it can possibly be broken by any means known to pony kind. Nevertheless, the fact that a huge crowd of spectators, including Princess Celestia, currently witnessed a young Pegasus accomplish this feat has caused some doubt in the conventional wisdom. Scientific Equestrian, the myth of super-spectral flight. Ramodash smiled boldly as she pulled the cart containing her fitness saddle off to the side of the road. It had taken a few weeks, but she and Twilight had finally figured out a system that allowed them to get their bizarre-looking oddity outside of Ponyville while keeping the suspicious of busybodies to a minimum. You certainly look cheerful today, Twilight said as she levitated the saddle out of the cart. She'd been waiting for her flying partner to arrive for nearly 10 minutes. Of course I'm cheerful. Most of the time an overcast sky means I need to put in extra hours of work because it usually means showers to monitor. You have no idea how fussy they are about precipitation rates back in Cloudsdale. Well, I'd imagine that they'd be persnickety about it, Twilight replied. After all, many crops are dependent on certain amounts of rainfall, so mistakes could be devastating to the agricultural sector. The Pegasus sighed. Listen, I'm complaining about my bosses here. That means you're supposed to be on my side even if the pencil pushers have a point. Twilight winced at her conversational faux pas. I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. Still, when you want empathy, it would help if you would talk about your feelings. I did. Didn't I point out how cheerful I was that I didn't have to do all that crap? The unicorn thought for a bit and realized that Rainbow Dash had indeed been implying that she merely found aspects of her job to be annoying, even if they were necessary. Oh, I see what you mean, I think. Twilight decided to change the subject a bit. So why exactly is the sky overcast today? Don't tell me you scheduled it that way just for this practice. What? No way! I take my job as Ponyville's chief weather pony seriously, and pulling that sort of thing would get me demoted in a heartbeat. The reason we have overcast skies is because several local farmers requested it so they could get some work done outside without having to deal with the sun on top of everything. We get requests like that all the time, but usually none of them can agree on a date. I take it this time they coordinated with each other? No, actually. From what I can tell, they just got lucky, and enough of them requested today to justify requisitioning a nice thick stratus. I never imagined you the bureaucratic type. Well, yeah, that part of the job is tedious, but it's also repetitive enough that you can usually get things done quicker once you know what you're doing. I've still got a lot of free time, and the pay is good. Really? Of course. How else do you think I afford my home? Well, I assumed that cloud homes were cheaper than those on the ground because there's a lot more sky to go around than land. Well, that's true, Rainbow Dash admitted, but that isn't the run-of-the-mill cumulus bungalow. Trust me, decorative columns and rainbow water features aren't cheap. So why'd you put them in? I didn't, actually. They were already in place when I bought it. It's actually the first cloud home in Ponyville, Rainbow Dash admitted with no small amount of pride. Really? Have you considered registering it as a historical landmark? I'm way ahead of you on that. Legal tender suggested so I could get some tax benefits. Legal tender? He's my accountant. The best one in Cloudsdale. Well, we better get strapped in. Oh, no you don't, Rainbow Dash replied with a smirk. Not yet. Now it's your turn. What do you mean? Come on, what does a librarian's salary get you? I'm not sure I'm comfortable talking about that. Hey, it's not like I'm asking you for specific figures here. I'm just curious. Besides, my tax bits help pay for it, so I've got a legitimate interest. Unable, or perhaps more accurately unwilling to argue with that line of reasoning, the librarian reluctantly caved in. Well, pretty much all of my compensation comes in the form of room and board. The money I have for personal purchases comes from the stipend I receive as Princess Celestia's protege. And I won't reveal that to any pony because I don't want to feel like I'm bragging about how much money I have access to. Okay, suit yourself. It's not like I told you all that stuff about my house to try to impress you. I'm just really proud of it, that's all. Twilight sighed. That's okay. It's just that so many ponies in Canterlot make judgments about others based on how much money they have. I hear you. Besides, you've already told me plenty. What? You must be pretty well off if you're worried about other ponies thinking you're bragging, am I right? Twilight Sparkle chose not to dignify this with an answer. Let's just get up in the air, she groused. The stratus clouds were indeed quite thick. When Rainbow Dash had zipped up the hold they used to get through the cloud layer, Twilight couldn't see anything but clouds and mountaintops. Wow, this is really impressive. The unicorn was rather disappointed that she hadn't been able to come up with a better adjective to express her feelings on the sight before her. It was as though Rainbow Dash was standing on an apparently endless floor of cotton. Sure, she'd seen the top of clouds plenty of times before, but that was usually from the basket of her hot air balloon, rather than the back of a Pegasus, and the clouds themselves had never seemed so incredibly vast. Rainbow Dash seemed to pick up on her rider's unspoken comment. Yeah, she said with a characteristic smirk. I bet the overcast skies would be a lot more popular if every pony could see what they look like from above. But we've talked enough for now. Time for flying. The pair warmed up by running through the maneuvers they worked on the previous week at a moderate speed. Now that Twilight had a reasonably good idea of what she was doing, the loops and turns were becoming tighter, the aileron rolls were faster and cleaner, and Rainbow Dash was even more certain that she'd chosen the perfect mare to be her rider. It was time to really get down to business. Twilight, when I first had the idea to ask you to ride me, I had one goal in mind. A seriously, totally, undeniably awesome goal of pure, unadulterated coolness. And that goal is? 2 words, my friend. Sonic Rainboom. The Pegasus' rider let out a low whistle. Although she didn't find this revelation to be particularly surprising in and of itself. After all, Rainbow Dash's penchant for setting lofty goals was common knowledge in the Ponyville area. That said, she was glad to learn it. Knowing precisely what her friends ultimately wanted to get out of this training session meant that the remainder of their time could be occupied more efficiently. So, you really think we'll be able to do it today? To Twilight's astonishment, her friend's reaction was to laugh so hard it felt like a minor earthquake from her perch in the saddle. I wish. I've only pulled it off a few times, and every time I did, I was flying downwards, so I had gravity helping me. But won't having me along make it easier then? Sure, but making it easier won't do anything to help my strength training. No, my ultimate goal is to pull it off whenever I want, no matter what direction I'm flying in. Horizontally, diagonally, or maybe even vertically. I mean, if I can do that, I'll be a shoo-in for the Wonder Bolts. Rainbow Dash paused to allow the rapturous glory of her personal glory to play out in her mind. But to do that, my wing muscles need to be way, way stronger to make up for the lost acceleration. So using gravity now would kind of defeat the purpose of having you along for the ride. I see. So what are we going to do then? Well, just because I can't break the spectrum barrier without gravity doesn't mean I can't reach it. In fact, I've actually done it on my own while flying horizontally plenty of times before. I'm pretty sure I can take you there today, though it won't be easy. Oh, it's basically resistance training, isn't it? Right. If I get good enough to reach the barrier with a rider, without any problems, then breaking it on my own should be a lot easier. Twilight was really starting to comprehend the full extent of Dash's plans. That's great, and later on we can use gravity to increase the resistance by increasing the angle of ascent. By Luna, I think you've got it. Oh, but what happens when you don't break the spectrum barrier again? Well, the compression pushes back against you. The faster you go, the more it builds up, and if you don't break the barrier, it rockets you back like a slingshot. That's why I didn't want to try doing anything like this until there was enough cloud cover to absorb the crash. Twilight nodded in understanding. Okay, so what's the procedure here? It's pretty simple. You pick a point somewhere off in the distance and fly toward it as fast as possible. The only thing we need to do is make sure there's enough room to reach the barrier before we actually get there. I see. Twilight looked around, and the only things visible besides the clouds, which were subject to wind and thus not stationary enough to use as a target, were various mountain peaks, one of which had an unmistakable distant feature. Do you suppose the royal palace is far enough away for this? The unicorn asked, motioning toward the outcropping upon which the princess's castle stood. Rainbow Dash pondered this for a moment. Yeah, that should do nicely. Ready when you are. The pair had begun to make a large inside loop, mostly to gain speed before the extended flat pass. After all, using a little gravity from the downward half of the maneuver, just to get the metaphoric ball rolling, nothing more, wouldn't really interfere with the overall results. Once they'd leveled off, Rainbow Dash began her acceleration. Even though she hadn't gone into this exercise with any predefined plans to do so, Twilight found herself increasing her friend's airspeed every 8 wing flaps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The rhythm was nice and steady, almost musical, and Rainbow Dash didn't seem to be pushing herself too much as she continued accelerating. Twilight smiled as the wind whipped through her mane, which would doubtlessly be an absolute mess when the session was finished, and which, now that she thought about it, possibly explained why her flyer never bothered to style her own mane or tail. Still, the speed was exhilarating, creating a sort of tunnel that soon blurred out much of her peripheral vision. Twilight Sparkle found herself getting excited at the prospect of just arriving at the spectrum barrier, even if breaking it today was somewhat unlikely. Unfortunately for her, physics had other plans that day. The unicorn had mentally prepared herself for the eventual approach of the spectrum barrier. When Rainbow Dash began slowing down, she would have a split second to get ready before the catapulting effect kicked in. When it did, it would be her job to reorient her flyer as soon as possible, so they could move on to the next stage in the training session, whatever that might be. What she most certainly hadn't prepared for was the possibility of Rainbow Dash suddenly going out of control before this even occurred. which is why the unicorn was taken completely by surprise when her friend suddenly shot straight upwards, her typical precision vanishing in an instant, as Twilight's attempts to regain control sent the pair hurtling toward the fluffy padding beneath them. The two ponies bounced along the top of the clouds as Twilight was once again reminded of the soft, fluffy nature of the metaphoric phenomenon didn't make crashing into them all that pleasant. Upon seeing the pair, an outside observer might have been tempted to make the analogy to a pebble skipping across the surface of a pond, but that would imply a degree of stability that simply wasn't present, at least for Twilight Sparkle's point of view. To her, the bouncing and jostling was more akin to a ball being thrown across an erratically shaped field, or perhaps the party's Pinkie Pie occasionally threw when she was absolutely certain that there were no fools in attendance, giving her the opportunity to serve Sugar Cube Corner's award-winning extra-proof rum cake. When she and Rainbow Dash finally came to a stop, Twilight was upside down, completely surrounded by the cold, damp stratus clouds, and extremely grateful that her friend had spent the extra bits necessary to purchase the safest saddle on the market. The unicorn still looked dazed as Rainbow Dash righted herself, pulling her out of the clouds. I thought you said that we'd be bounced backwards if we didn't pull off the rain boom. I did, and we would have, but we never even got close to the spectrum barrier. So what happened? I was hoping you could tell me. We were going along fine, and then suddenly I was completely out of control. I mean, I didn't even feel you pulling back on the reins. Twilight thought about this for a few seconds before the obvious explanation came to her. Of course, she said, knocking her hoof against her forehead in a show of frustration. I was sitting upright the whole time, which meant your whole aerodynamic profile was completely disrupted. When you got up to speed, the air pushed against my body with enough force to flip us end over end. Huh. I guess that makes sense. You have any idea how to fix it? The unicorn took several more seconds before replying. As a matter of fact, I do. If I lean forward, that should reduce our aerodynamic profile significantly. Huh. Simple and to the point. Sounds like a good plan B to me. At first, it really did appear to be a good plan. The smaller profile that resulted from the forward lean didn't just make it easier to stay in control. The reduction in drag also meant that Rainbow Dash was able to accelerate much faster. At least that's what Twilight Sparkle thought, although she admittedly had less experience with high-speed flying than her counterpart. Still, the unicorn was fairly certain that her flyer had taken less time to reach the point where they'd run into problems before. Assuming the increasing strain on the muscles in her midsection were a reasonably accurate indication of airspeed. Besides, this time the barrier was starting to become visible, just like Rainbow Dash said it would. As the distortion associated with the spectrum barrier began to manifest itself in a translucent cone around the pair, Twilight's natural curiosity caused her to turn her head so that she could observe the phenomenon from the side. The unicorn was fairly certain that this action would not create significant drag, and technically speaking she was correct. Turning her neck did not cause the pair to spin out of control. No, that happened because the distraction caused Twilight to forget to keep the muscles in her barrel and shoulders contracted, which meant that she was suddenly blown into an upright position by the air resistance, this time flailing her forelegs wildly. This in turn caused Rainbow Dash to receive so many conflicting signals that she simply stopped flapping her wings altogether. The good news was that Rainbow Dash now had some idea of Fluttershy's experience when she attempted to fly in front of an audience. The bad news was that she and Twilight ended up nosediving directly into the clouds below. Alright, time for Plan C. Since you're just going to be flying in a straight line, that means you don't need me to steer for you. Therefore, I'll just leave you in charge while I drop down and wrap my forelegs around your neck and hang on. Does that sound good to you? You bet it does. Let's do this. It certainly seemed like a good plan, and indeed, when the two ponies reached the point where Twilight had been previously unable to lean forward under her own power, she was able to keep clinging on to Rainbow Dash's neck with relative ease. Unfortunately, the Pegasus didn't notice that when the wind buffeted Twilight's body, once again shifting her position downward, her friend's grip was sliding slowly up her neck, until the unicorn's hooves reached her larynx. That is, gak! Once again, Twilight Sparkle found herself with her head, quite literally, in the clouds. Okay, on to Plan D. I am not sure I can handle a Plan D right now, Rainbow Dash groaned as she rolled over. She coughed a few times and rubbed her throat. Can we just call it a day and head home? Actually, that is Plan D. If we want to even get close to the spectrum barrier, we're going to have to come up with some safer ways to reduce our aerodynamic profile. And right now, I don't see how that's going to happen without some good old-fashioned research. Great. You do that while I head home and recover. Don't we have to go back to the field and get the cart? What do you mean? Well, Candelot looks a lot closer now than when we started. Rainbow Dash looked at the castle and groaned as she realized that the unicorn's observation was correct. This is just great. My wings are going to be so sore tomorrow. Well, that is it for Chapter 4 of Wild, Sweet, and Cool. Sorry I was a little rusty. I haven't really read stories in, over a week and a half now. So hopefully this wasn't too bad. I'll be back to my normal self hopefully next week. Just getting back into it and all. A couple notes before I leave you guys off. As I said in the introduction, which I don't even know if I'm going to actually put the real introduction in or I'm going to do the little fun introduction me and Austin recorded, but you guys will have already seen that by now. But as I said then, we are on Chapter 4. There's already 8 chapters to Kwakerjack's story. So if you want to advance in the story a little bit, please go to his fan fiction channel. It's in the description below, as well as the chapter that we just read. Go there, support him, thumbs up the story if you like it. Leave a comment. Other than that, I think he's almost getting to Chapter 9, which is great. I don't know if that's the end of the story or not, but I guess we'll find out when he gets there. Other than that, I will see you guys next week. I hope you guys enjoyed, and till next time.